Hi everybody, I'm back. Okay, so anyway, so there's the weird scientists, and the weird scientists in Deadlands introduce that sci-fi element to it, and a lot of what they do is tied to that concept I mentioned earlier of the ghost rock, and ghost rock is used to power a lot of their technology. Consequently, it's believed that the ghost rock is the reason why these scientists, who if they operate for too long, start to become unhinged, and that it's the old Mad as a Hatter concept, where that they think that perhaps even simply interacting with this ghost rock introduces kind of toxins to these scientists that slowly drive them insane. So they are truly, in the most stereotypical sense, mad, wild-haired scientists. And they add an interesting kind of facet to the Deadlands setting. But aside from your special characters, from your special character types, like your magically oriented or your weird science types, you've got all your other all the other tropes that you could imagine for a Western setting. You can play gunslingers or law dogs, or you can play cattle rustlers or thieves or bank robbers or snake oil salesmen. The confidence man who comes into town and swindles the townsfolk before making a hasty retreat before getting nabbed by the law. You can play, your cowpokes, or your like Pony Express messengers, or yellow journalists, or Pinkertons, detective. The equivalent of the southern equivalent of the Pinkertons, which are the Texas Rangers, who are, kind of your roaming Judge Dredd type characters, where they have the legal authority to take action wherever it is they happen to be standing, and they don't care much for jurisdiction. So there's lots of interesting concepts to play with in Deadlands, and it's like I said, a very broad setting to play in, and you have a lot of potential for adventure, because you have not only your what you might consider your standard fare Western conventions. Trying to show you the interior of the book here. In terms of the types of adventures, like stopping bank robberies, or robbing banks, or train holdups, or cattle rustlers, or that kind of thing. But you also have the fantasy and horror and sci-fi elements that you throw in there too, which will create a very different kind of experience, different types of adventures from what you might think of when you normally think of a Western, because there are foul magics and evil wizards, and zombies and strange monsters that live on the edge of the village, the edge of town, that are killing, mutilating Joe Bob's cattle, and you got to find out why, and evil spirits that are supposedly haunting an old mine, and all this kind of stuff. So there's lots of potential for adventure, and that's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why I've been so attracted to Deadlands since I originally found it, and why I was so quick to want to pick up the Deadlands Reloaded game when I heard about it, because it is just full of potential for many games of fun and adventure. And and it's just very well designed to be very friendly to a game master who just wants to have a big sandbox to play in, and wants to have his adventures be anything from deep sort of maybe political intrigue, to quick and dirty shootouts, to chases, to plundering ancient crypts, to just about anything, flying contraptions, and dive bombing this a bandit caravan or something like that. And so there's just a lot to play with in Deadlands. The Deadlands, particular to Savage Worlds, it reintroduces, or if you recall in my Savage Worlds review, Savage Worlds used the Benny system, which were points that you could spend for re-rolls and that sort of thing. And Deadlands kind of converts bennies into the chip system, the poker chip system that the original Deadlands game used. And essentially it's just the Benny system, but now it has different levels of potency. So your basic red chip is just a normal standard Benny, but you also have, white chip. But you also have red chips, which are, they can act like regular bennies, or they can have additional benefits, which make them a little more powerful. And then you have blue chips, which are even more powerful than that. Basically at the beginning of every game session, the GM and the players draw chips randomly out of a pot, and that's for each session. That's the chips that you have to play with. And it reintroduces a lot of setting-specific rules, which make it into the Deadlands and Western game that we all know and love from the original version. It reintroduces the rules for handling your shootouts, like shootouts at high noon, and it does it in a very simple but very tense and flavorful system. Basically what happens is when you're in a stare down with somebody, you will start drawing cards, and it's almost like a game of Hold'em, like Texas Hold'em, because there are certain cards that are out on the table that are cards that either character can use. And then there are hidden cards that are dealt to each player, and based on certain, the results of certain rolls that you make, and based on the actions that you're taking with your opponent, like if you're trying to intimidate him, or if you're trying to fake him out by pretending like you're going to go for your gun or something like that, you can gain benefits by drawing extra cards, and you're trying to form the best poker hand that you can, and whoever has the higher poker hand gets an advantage when you finally go draw your shooting iron and you gun them down. So it makes it actually introduces a really cool element of tension. There's actual tension in the shootout because you're sitting there and you're doing a mental kind of battle with yourself on should I go now and hope that he has a low hand, or should I wait till I get a good hand and then go? And what kind of tactics or what kind of approach are you going to take in the duel to kind of fight it out, or to kind of fight it out the way that you want to, and as a result, usually if once it comes to drawing your irons, it's very likely that one or the other person is going to be laid out in the dust, because there's some pretty hefty damage bonuses that that are associated with when you're in the duel. So it's definitely creates one of those cinematic moments where you draw and you shoot, you draw a bead and you shoot, and he goes down, and it's very rare that it's going to draw out into a battle of dodging up and down the street and trying to take your opponent down. So I found those rules really particularly interesting. And then of course there's full rules for all the different types of magic and how they're all handled. And yes, for those of you who have played the original Deadlands, the huckster magic mechanics are still there, and you can still play a little kind of hand of poker as part of your magical thing. It's not required now, which is interesting, but it's more of kind of like a last-ditch thing, where if you're on the ropes and you need some extra power, you can draw your little poker hand, and you can try and get basically an extra, a bonus to creating a magical effect. So if you can't tell, I highly recommend Deadlands. A very interesting game. I've been excited about the game since I first picked it up, and I was very happy with what they did with the Reloaded edition, because it has all the flavor of the original Deadlands system while streamlining the game mechanics significantly. Making it so much easier to create characters for, and just concentrate on having fun and adventure and excitement, with dusty shootouts and Gatling guns on the backs of steam wagons and all this kind of fun stuff. So highly recommended. Check it out. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you again soon.